Minecraft is the most popular video game of all time, and one of the few games that I actually play. Now, usually on this channel we don't talk about video game music, but I feel like Minecraft can be an exception to that. Minecraft's music is not only beloved by the players of the game, but it's also a slightly less typical choice of style for a video game soundtrack. Imagine you were tasked with writing the music for Minecraft. This is a game where you can explore vast landscapes, kill zombies and monsters in dungeons, search for treasure, build towns, craft weapons. So perhaps an obvious choice of music would be something epic and cinematic, like you'd hear on a game like Skyrim or Zelda. Then again, Minecraft also has a retro pixelated look to it, so maybe actually a chiptune soundtrack would be a good fit. Well, Daniel Rosenfeld, better known as C418, was the person actually tasked with writing music for Minecraft. And he didn't go down either of these routes. Instead, we got music that sounds like this. Not epic cinematic orchestral pieces, not 8-bit retro chiptunes, but a chilled out, minimalistic, slightly melancholic ambient soundtrack. Perhaps not the music you would expect to accompany a game like Minecraft. But like I said before, Minecraft's ambient, minimalist soundtrack is beloved by the players. To show just one example of this, I asked Minecraft YouTuber Mumbo Jumbo what he thought of the Minecraft soundtrack.
For me personally, the Minecraft music is Minecraft. Like they are intertwined with one another. They're connected. I can't imagine Minecraft without the music, and I can't imagine the music without Minecraft. You know, when you're playing the game, they just go together so well. You know, you're exploring, and it just feels, the music feels like exploration. It feels curious. It feels adventurous. It feels like there's a sense of wonder to it. You know, they're kind of perfectly matched. They complement each other so well.
But how did Minecraft actually wind up with a soundtrack like this in the first place? Well, it all comes down to limitation breeding creativity. Under most circumstances, the last game you would describe as limited is Minecraft. Minecraft is an open world sandbox game with an infinitely big, randomly spawned map. The player has no objectives to achieve, no levels or challenges they are forced to complete. The player can literally do anything they like. But this freedom that the player gets actually presents a problem when you're trying to compose music that suits that game. Typically in a video game, certain events like walking into a new area will cue a new piece of music, so that piece of music can be paired with that event. Rosenfeld originally wanted to have different music themed to each biome, each area of the map. So for example, if you were sailing across an ocean, you might get serene, epic ocean music. And then when you enter a cave, you might get scary, tense cave music. The problem is, in Minecraft, players can actually move across biomes really quickly. So if a player was travelling across the map at some speed, you'd keep entering different biomes before the music could even catch up. Listen to this clip of Daniel Rosenfeld discussing the challenges he faced when composing for Minecraft.
So imagine this, the player is in the savannah and there's a forest next to it, and like now you say, well, it makes sense that the player's in savannah, you know, we can play savannah music, right? And then you just like randomly play savannah music, but now the player goes to the forest, and because players don't really stick in one point in Minecraft, that player is in the forest really quick, and now the savannah music is playing, and now we have to stop it and then just play forest music. All of that is really clunky and like uncomfortable.
Similarly, Rosenfeld originally wanted Minecraft to feature battle music. After all, in most video games, if you encounter a monster, then a dramatic battle theme would begin as you start to fight them. However, once again, due to Minecraft's unstructured nature, it actually makes it quite hard to determine when an event like a battle begins and ends.
So imagine there's an enemy and a player, and well, in Zelda they should start making battle music, right? So we could play battle music. But the problem in Minecraft is that battles are really short. So the player could just run away and it's like a 2-second thing. So we can't really play battle music because there's no time.
So ultimately, trying to write music for Minecraft that actually matched the events happening on screen would be like trying to score a movie without reading the script. Rosenfeld's only option really was to write this ambient, so-called general soundtrack that could match any event happening on screen, so it would never contradict what was happening in the game. So this is how we wound up with this ambient, Sarte-esque soundtrack. Ambient music can avoid evoking any particular emotion or mood that might accidentally contradict the events happening in the game at that moment. The music is non-intrusive with simple repeating harmony and fairly homogeneous dynamics. Now, when described like this, it makes Minecraft's music sound like it's just generic background filler. Music that's not really meant to be listened to, that it's just meant to fill the silence in the background. And this is actually the perception that many people have of ambient music, that it's boring generic music that acts as background noise. Ambient music is often conflated with muzak, which is that typically cheesy, soulless music that you might hear when you're on hold to a call centre or walking around a shopping mall. But ambient music is not just background noise. The term ambient music was coined by Brian Eno in the liner notes of his 1978 album Ambient 1: Music for Airports. In those notes, Eno actually defends the value and purpose of ambient music. The concept of music designed specifically as a background feature in the environment was pioneered by Muzak Inc. in the 50s. Understandably, this has led most discerning listeners and most composers to dismiss entirely the concept of environmental music as an idea worthy of attention. Whereas canned music aims to blanket an environment, ambient music is intended to enhance an environment. It must be able to accommodate many levels of listening attention without enforcing one in particular. It must be as ignorable as it is interesting. This is a perfect description of why Minecraft's music works. It's as ignorable as it is interesting. The music can just sit in the background and be ignored by the player, but then, as Rosenfeld describes in this clip, sometimes the music will happen just at the right time, that it perfectly enhances and complements what the player is doing in that moment.
We basically made the music just like randomly happen between 15 or 30 minutes, just like for no reason at all. And what happens because of that is like players do like their terrible dirt hut, and it's an ugly thing, but they like had an effort put into that. And like if the music just randomly happens to play because of that, like just because like they made like a dirt hut, it makes them remember that moment like more like specifically. And that's actually kind of an interesting thing that didn't even occur to us, that the music could do that. Like, or like they like build a boat and the sun is setting and the music kicks in. And then like people keep coming up to me and telling me, well, yeah, I had this thing happening. I went into a dark cave and there was lava and skeletons and the music came in. It was amazing.
So now that we know how Minecraft got its ambient soundtrack, let's take a closer look at the music itself. We'll start by looking at one of the original pieces from Minecraft, Sweden. Sweden slowly rotates around a 4-chord loop, with the melody slowly developing above with each rotation. The use of these chord extensions, such as the 6th and the major 9th, lend a mellow, almost jazzy tone to the music, quite reminiscent of one of the earliest names in what we now call ambient music, Erik Satie. In fact, Sweden's slow, lush piano chords give the piece a very similar tone to Satie's most famous piece, Gymnopédie No. 1. If we look at another piece from Minecraft, this one entitled Wet Hands, you can see a similar Sarte-esque use of major 9th chords. However, this time they're played as arpeggios. Wet Hands also features the Mixolydian mode, as we can see from the characteristic lowered 7th degree here. The Mixolydian flavour lends to the mellow, whimsical mood of the piece. The major 7 chord and the major 9 chord, which contains a major 7 chord, both appear quite often across the Minecraft soundtrack. For example, the piece Subwoofer Lullaby is based around this C major 7 chord. These major 7 chords are one of the main elements giving the music its relaxed yet uneasy sound. Major 7 chords achieve this contradictory mood of calm and unease because they blend dissonance and consonance. The main characterful interval in a major 7 chord is of course the major 7 interval. In a C major 7 chord, this would be the interval between the C and the B. And as you can hear, this on its own sounds dissonant. However, a major 7 chord also features 2 other notes, and these 2 other notes introduce a whole range of consonant intervals to the chord, like perfect fifths and major thirds. This abundance of consonant intervals effectively dilutes the dissonance of the major 7 interval, resulting in a chord which sounds consonant but with a potent dash of dissonance. If I take the major 7 interval out of Subwoofer Lullaby, you can hear how that uneasy eeriness disappears. This is Subwoofer Lullaby with its major 7 chord. And this is without. The final thing I want to discuss today about Minecraft's music is its intentionally lo-fi sound. You may have noticed, for example, when the piano is used in these pieces of music, it's not a clear, pure, realistic piano tone like this. But instead it has a muffled, degraded tone, an artificial sound to it. According to Rosenfeld, he did want the music to have a natural quality to it, hence the choice of instruments like piano, harps and strings. But he also wanted the music to have a lo-fi tone to it. As Rosenfeld puts it himself,
I like the idea of low-quality music that is still good.
To me, this natural yet lo-fi sound is the perfect music for Minecraft. Just look at the graphics for Minecraft. These are lo-fi renderings of natural landscapes, much like the music is lo-fi renditions of natural instruments. And yet, despite the low fidelity of the graphics, Minecraft can be a visually stunning and beautiful game to play. The same is true of the music. It may be lo-fi, but that doesn't mean that it can't be beautiful. I asked Mumbo Jumbo what he thought of Minecraft's lo-fi aesthetic.
I think the lo-fi quality of Minecraft is actually its biggest strength, because it means that people are curious about it. They don't quite understand why people are playing a game that looks so rubbish when there's such beautiful games out there, and there's an inherent curiosity there. It's like, why are people so interested in this? Maybe I'll give it a go. And then as soon as you start playing, you can instantly look past the 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter cubes, and you just let your imagination go. You know, if you want to build a castle, you build a castle. If you want to build a village, you build a village. If you want to build your dream house, you build your dream house. As long as you can build it using blocks, then you can build it. And I think the biggest strength with the blocks is the simplicity of it. Anyone can do it. Any age can do it. It's accessible to everyone, and it's limitless. You know, you're completely limited by your own imagination. You can do whatever you want in the game.
I'll leave you with this clip of Brian Eno explaining how he first conceived of the idea of ambient music.
A friend of mine came over to see me, and I was confined to bed. I couldn't move. But as she left, she said, "Shall I put a record on?" And I said, "Please." And she put a record on and then left. The record was much too quiet, but I couldn't reach to turn it up. And it was raining outside, so it was a record of 18th century harp music, I remember. And so I lay there at first kind of frustrated by this situation, but then I started listening to the rain and listening to these odd notes of the harp that were just loud enough to be heard above the rain. And this was a great musical experience for me, and I suddenly thought of this idea of making music that didn't impose itself on your space in the same way, but created a sort of landscape that you could belong to, you could be part of. And this, I called this, I pompously gave it a new name, which I called ambient music.
So a big thank you goes to Mumbo Jumbo for taking the time to be in this video. I emailed him about a month ago and told him about how many of you guys think that I sound like him, and he thought that was really funny and he was very happy to be involved in this video. And as always, thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon, including the names you can see on screen now, and Andre Sainz Diaja, Andrew Brown, Andy Deacon, Austin Barrett, Austin Russell, Bob McKinstry, Brittany Parker, Cameron Oliveira, Chris Cabell, Christopher Ryan, Darren Harvey, David Cranberry, David Lee Fish, Dr. Darren Wicks, Eleanor Skorchenko, Esben Hansen, Eugene Leroy, Eyes, FD Hodor, Guillermo Latona, James Ko, J.A. Kockensparger, Joe Watson, Jonas Soderstrom, Justin Vigor, Lavender Mint Rose, Mark Height, Melody Composer Squared, Michael Vivian, Nancy Gillard, Paul Muller, Paul Pazel, Peter Dunphy, Piotr Shmiolovsky, Roger Clay, Sam Lynn, Steve Daly, Sean Kennedy, Tim Beaker, Tim Payne, Toot, Vidad Flowers, and Vladimir Kodakov.